This video is going to be my personal top 10 physical media releases of 2024, which, yes, was last year. This is a video I had wanted to do, but I just never got to it. And after this, I will be doing uh, my top releases of this year, 2025. But before I get to that, I wanted to go back and highlight. I wanted to go back and highlight my favorite releases of last year, which was 2024. So, and I thought about doing this where I would physically show them because I have all these releases, but I thought I might get better images, just showing captured images of the cases and such. And it's mostly just me going over what the releases are and talking about them. So I didn't think it made much difference if I was physically showing the actual cases or just pictures of the cases. Okay, and these are in no. I decided what order I would do them in, but they're not ranked or anything 1 to 10. These are just my general top 10 for last year. So, up first, we have The Terminator, the original from 1984, making its 4K debut. And I'm going to say this a lot during this, but that's never looked better. And we do lose some extras from the Blu-ray, and I feel like a lot of channels don't point this out because everyone's always pushing, the latest and greatest, the shiny new thing, the 4K, throw out all your old editions. But a lot of the time with these studio 4Ks, we're losing legacy features. So if you're someone who cares about the extras, the bonus features, behind the scenes stuff, when you upgrade to 4K, you should always check, hey, what's on this Blu-ray that's maybe not on this 4K? Because this Terminator 4K does cut at least a couple features when I had checked from the previous Blu-ray. You do still get 2, 3 featurettes, the deleted scenes, but you do lose some. So, and then I wanted to make the point. So this is my personal top 10 for 2024. Not everything's going to be fully decked out, super deluxe, 8 discs of extras type thing. These are picks that mean the most to me, that are sentimental to me for whatever reason. Personal favorite films, just done great. So not all of these are going to have the most robust extras. It's sort of a combination of factors that led me to choose this bunch. But yeah, you know, I don't need to say much about the Terminator. Most, you know, sci-fi cult movie fans know it very well. So I'm gonna go on to the next one, which is Aliens, another Cameron classic. And again, making its 4K debut. I thought it looked great. I did retain my Blu-ray. I think the features from the last Blu-ray are here, but the transfers do look different. So if you want to keep that previous, incarnation of the film as it was presented on Blu-ray, not a bad move. That's what I'm doing. And we do you get the theatrical and special edition, which is my preferred cut, on 4K and a third disc with additional bonus features. Of course, there's been great supplemental material about Aliens elsewhere, whether it was the Creator VC Aliens Expanded hours long documentary. I have that, and there were also, if you have the Alien Anthology box set with Alien 1 through 4 on Blu-ray, that has great features that, again, you're not going to get here. But what the 4K does give you is, the highest definition with the HDR, that it's ever been presented in. So, Aliens 1986 makes my list. Then up next, we have Umbrella's 4K release of the Super Mario Brothers movie from 1993. And pictured here was the one up Super 30th anniversary edition set, which included script books, behind the scenes book. Now, I didn't get that edition. I didn't go that quite all out, but I wanted to showcase all the effort that Umbrella put into that specific release. I got the standard edition myself, which was fine for me, but I've always liked this movie. I saw this movie in theaters in the early 90s. I've always liked it. Um, I was never a hardcore Nintendo person. In the early 90s, I was really more a Sega guy. But, I, of course, knew Super Mario Brothers. I had played, some of the games on NES. But I never had an issue with this movie. I always thought it was interesting that it was different. And then as I learned more about the production as I got older, I was always glad that it came out weird and twisted and darker than anything Nintendo had originally wanted. And then if you go into some of the documentaries and behind the scenes on this film, you learn that they actually wanted to go even darker. And I think Nintendo actually did get them to pull it back a bit uh, before the movie was completed, while it was being made and all that. But yeah, this is a great release. This is an Australian release, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know. This just hasn't had a good HD or 4K US release, but Umbrella came through for the fans. Basically, anything you would ever want. Even the standard edition, which I have, it's never looked better. Tons of extras. Just a fun movie. Always love the production design. I'm huge on production design when it comes to sci-fi fantasy stuff. And this is, before everything was CGI and green screen and all that. So there's tons of great props and sets, special makeup effects, the costumes, all that. So Umbrella's 4K release of the Super Mario Brothers movie from the 90s is that pick there. And then up next, one of my all-time favorite films is Shout, Scream Factory's release of Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I'm going to be showing a few different images here. I did not get the steelbook myself, but it was a pretty cool steelbook, so I'll be showing that here, front and back. And yet, you do get a good bit of extras. Nothing new, but just to get the film in 4K was huge to me. The previous and out of print Arrow Video Blu-ray edition is also great, and I've kept that. That actually has, I believe, at least two extra features that Shout didn't or was not able to include on this 4K. But to get Killer Clowns on 4K, and I did get it. I didn't get the set with the pins and all that, but I did get it with these alternate slips. Well, it's one alternate slip, because the main slip just has the theatrical art, but the alternate slip has them with the pizzas, and I'll show that here. And I just thought it's a great just alternative slip. But yeah, one of my all-time favorites. Just classic 80s cheese, super unique. Still waiting for a reboot or sequel. One of my all-time favorites. Next, we have the Shudder release through OCN, aka the Vinegar Syndrome website, of The Sadness on 4K, which was the first American 4K that the film got. So, and this is one of those films like the 28 Days Later films where they're not actually zombie films. It's not actually a zombie film. They're not dead, the attackers of the film. It's a virus that's changing people's behavior. But this is generally sort of classed as zombie film. But at any rate, to me, this is one of the best modern virus slash zombie type films of recent memory. It's just extremely well done, extremely gory, but done in a very polished way, a very slick way. But it's down, it's dirty, it's disgusting in parts. You know, they take it to levels that most you wouldn't see in your typical American zombie film released in theaters. But yeah, this release, I'm gonna be showing the packaging that it came in. It had an outer hard slip box and then an inner slip case, and just all kinds of cool art. And the 4K looks great. You get a bunch of extras here, and just a great release from Shudder through OCN. And they recently released an alternate slip for this that has nothing on this old art to me. So I'm glad to have this original edition, which, as I recall, it actually sold out fairly quickly when it first came out. Like I think in less than a day, this limited edition set was gone. So definitely glad to have that one. And my next pick is Unearthed Films' 4K release of The Guyver, which had previously not even had a Blu-ray in the United States. So this is kind of the point where my list starts to get more obscure. So for anyone who doesn't know, The Guyver, now I don't know all the details, 'cause I'm not really into anime and manga type stuff, but I believe The Guyver is based on an old anime or manga, and this was a live action film that was made. I believe it's an American production based on all that, and it's sort of like Power Rangers, but way darker, with amazing practical effects and costumes by a guy back in the day who was known as Screaming Mad George. And you'll see a bit of it on the art here for The Guyver, front and back. Just these amazing creatures, and the hero gets this special suit that allows him to fight them because they have, extraordinary, more than human strength. Mark Hamill's in this. It's very weird. It kind of plays like a twisted version of the original live action Ninja Turtles film, with just like weird creatures, gritty urban environment, lots of night scenes. This looks great. They did new extras. This is just a really cool action sci-fi movie. Definitely recommend that one. My next pick is Death Machine from 1994, released by Kino Lorber. Now, this was the US Blu-ray debut, which is part of the significance that it made my list. There were multiple prior German editions. I never had any of those. And I did try to check. This US Kino release, I believe for the first time, you get 3 different cuts of the movie. Because this was originally cut back in the day, I believe for the US market. It removes a whole bunch of scenes. You don't want to watch that most cut down version, but it's great to include it so people have the option. They have the ability to check out, the different versions. I always say, always better to have the options, even if you have a preferred single cut. So, yeah, Death Machine, super underrated, early 90s sci-fi with Brad Dourif. Some things thematically in common with something like the Terminator, but this is just a full-on killer robot, not a cyborg that looks like a person. This has great practical effects for the time. Takes place in a high-rise. Brad Dourif is like this evil genius, corporate tycoon inventor dude. Just an awesome action sci-fi movie, and Kino Lorber finally brought it on US Blu-ray. Like I said, 3 cuts. I think this has something like 4 commentaries. I'll show the back on here. at least 4 commentaries, new interviews. This is just a great release. I buy a fair bit of Kino Lorber, and a few times a year, they'll come out with out of left field with one of these old, prime 70s, 80s, 90s picks, whether it be on Blu-ray or 4K. And that's one of the categories of films I most like to collect. Just give me a good Blu-ray. If like the 4K is not do whatever, I'm happy with solid Blu-ray, cool art, extras. Kino threw a slip on this, and this actually reuses art that I saw was previously used a few years earlier for one of those German editions I mentioned. But if you're into killer robot films at all, Death Machine is great. This still doesn't get talked about enough, but at least it's more available now. I remember renting this on VHS back in the day, and it probably was the cut version, and I still liked it. Even on VHS, even the cut version. I sort of order these in order of perceived obscurity. Just, because everyone knows the Terminator and Aliens, so I kind of put those at the beginning. But like I said, it's not in a rated order in terms of most favorite to least favorite of the year. But anyway, my next pick was a Vinegar Syndrome Black Friday title for 2024, and that was the 80s slasher Blood Tracks. This film never really even got a DVD, certainly not a US one. There was one sort of crummy, possibly gray market European DVD that was like unobtainable. Like, certainly no one in the US hardly knew about it. But this is a VHS era winter themed slasher. I was ecstatic when this was announced last year, because this is the number one type of film I look for Vinegar Syndrome to rescue and preserve. At least give us a decent Blu-ray if the 4K isn't viable or whatever. But I was thrilled when they released this. It's sort of like Hills of Eyes. There's multiple like mountain men killers. I believe it's actually filmed in the Swiss Alps, and there's a rock band that's filming a music video there, and they're attacked by this crazed mutant family. It has wild kills, great winter atmosphere. This is one of those 80s slashers perfect for winter watching that's not specifically Christmas at all. And yeah, it's the best we're ever going to get in this film, the best it's ever looked. Blood Tracks, highly recommended to any 80s slasher fans. It has its detractors. I'm not saying it's, a top 10 80s slasher. I don't think it is, but it's a fun one. It had been stuck on VHS essentially since the 80s. Vinegar Syndrome rescued it. Great slipcover, great art, great restoration. We've got extras. Blood Tracks. My next pick is Shout Factory's release of Funeral Home. This is an early 80s horror thriller that I have been familiar with since the VHS era. Now, it did get several DVDs from the early 2000s to early 2010s, but not from any like established companies of quality. They were like those, I want to say, if not bootleg, at least one of them may have been authorized, but I don't even know if they even had remastered the film. I don't think there's extras on any of those releases. So, and this came out of nowhere, this announcement, and I wasn't sure this was ever going to get a modern release. I had never gotten to own the film before, and I'll be showing the back here. This had a new audio commentary, new interviews. There's a featurette on the filming locations. This is such an underrated movie. Even after this release, it's still seldom talked about, super underrated. It's a very simple story. It's definitely sort of in the psycho type vein. Takes place in like the rural American Midwest. Um, this girl needs a place to stay. It has a little bit, sort of feels a little bit similar to Motel Hell. It's this boarding house with this old lady here that you see on the back, and people going missing, creepy, weird stuff happening. The girls trying to figure stuff out, look into it. Shout used the original art that was iconic for the VHS. Just a great Blu-ray release from Scream Factory, who gets a ton of shit in the past few years, but it wasn't any other company that put this out. It was Shout Factory, and this was just a great release. And my final pick for 2024 was Severin's release of 2020 Texas Gladiators, which is a post-apocalyptic sci-fi action film, Italian, from the early 80s, directed by Joe D'Amato. And this is another film, like some of the others on this list, such as Blood Tracks and Death Machine. We're talking American releases here. That had not had a release since VHS. It never got even got a DVD in the US, and if there was a DVD in Europe, it was one of these rinky-dink jobs. No extras, probably not even a proper remaster. This film has been stuck in shit quality, for decades. I'm a huge fan and collector of all these sci-fi action post-apocalyptic films that came in the wake of the early Mad Max films, because a lot of the Italian ones are actually great. A lot of people dismiss them as just being schlocky ripoffs, but a lot of them go in different directions than the Mad Max films ever did. You get crazy vehicles, crazy stunts, gunfights, crazy costumes, great villains, violence that goes beyond anything you saw in the old Mad Max films. And this is one of the best ones. I don't care what anyone says. This film is fucking fun. It's violent. It's nasty. You get great action. This is a 4K restoration from the original negative. You get interviews. You get the soundtrack CD. And I did get the deluxe box of this, which even came with a shirt for the movie. And it's got outer box, slipcover. I absolutely love this release. If you're into sci-fi action, post-apocalyptic stuff from back in the day, this is at the very least a must-see, if not a must-own. So 2020 Texas Gladiators, my final pick of this video for my top physical media releases of 2024. And as I indicated at the beginning of this video, and my last, I will be doing my top releases of this year, 2025, very soon. I'm going to do my damnedest. I'm going to try to record it extremely soon. So if you made it to the end here, I thank you for watching. And check back in just a couple days, possibly less, and I will have my top releases of 2025. And hopefully I can make this a regular yearly series and post them while it's still the calendar year that I'm posting about. That would be good. Anyway, again, thanks for watching, and I hope even one of the films that I recommended was something potentially new or interesting to someone, because I know a lot of channels do these sorts of lists. My taste diverts a lot from other people's, even though there's a lot of overlap, especially in the cult horror sci-fi worlds. But I do like to give, my unique picks of movies that I love, and hopefully, they can be discovered by new fans.